I switched my newborn in the hospital because I couldn't accept the truth about my baby. And no one knows I never thought I would write this. I've kept this buried for nearly 7 years, and every single day it eats me alive. My name, obviously, isn't important, but I'm a 34-year-old woman, and I have a son who isn't really mine, or he is mine now. He calls me Mommy. He runs into my arms after school. I love him with all my heart. But biologically, no. He belongs to someone else, and I made that choice. Before you scream at me, I know. I already hate myself more than you ever could. 7 years ago, I gave birth to a baby boy. I'll call him Liam for this post. My pregnancy was rough. My partner, we'll call him Brian, and I had been trying for over 2 years, had one. Miscarriage, and then finally conceived after doing a few rounds of IUI. It was supposed to be this beautiful miracle. I followed all the rules. Ate right, took vitamins, gave up caffeine, did prenatal yoga, went to every appointment, every scan. Everything was normal until it wasn't. At around 36 weeks, the doctors noticed something wasn't quite right. Liam was measuring small. I was sent for more tests. They diagnosed him in utero with a genetic condition I won't name for privacy reasons, but it involved severe developmental delays, low muscle tone, potential intellectual disabilities, and a lifetime of medical needs. They said he might never walk, might never talk, might need full-time care for the rest of his life. I felt like the ground had cracked beneath me. I went numb. I nodded through everything they said. Brian cried. I didn't. I just shut down. We had a few weeks to prepare. Genetic counselors, social workers, information packets, support groups. I went to exactly one meeting and couldn't bear it. All I could think was, this isn't what I signed up for. I hated myself for thinking that. I still hate myself for thinking that. But I couldn't stop. I'd pictured birthday parties, soccer practice, sleepovers. I saw myself walking my son to kindergarten, teaching him to read, watching him fall in love someday. All of that crumbled with one test result. When I finally went into labor, I was terrified, not of the pain, but of what would happen after. I don't even remember much of the actual delivery, just machines, lights, beeping. I was barely conscious when Liam was born. They said he was struggling to breathe and took him to the NICU. Here's where it happened. I shared a room with another woman. Her name was Chelsea. She was young, maybe 20, very quiet, by herself. She had a baby boy too, born just a few hours after mine. At some point during our stay, while Liam was still in the NICU and her baby was sleeping in the bassinet near her, I snapped. I don't even remember making the decision, not fully. It was like something in me broke, something animalistic. I just did it. It was the second night. Nurses were switching shifts. Chelsea was asleep. I woke up, went over to her side of the room, and picked up her baby. My heart was beating so hard I thought I'd faint. I brought him to my bed, pulled the blanket over us, and pretended to sleep. When the nurse came in, she barely looked twice, just scanned the wristbands, checked vitals, and moved on. Chelsea didn't even stir. That baby became my baby. The next morning, when they brought Liam in to visit me, I cried, real, heavy, soul-breaking sobs. I told the nurses I was feeling overwhelmed, that I was afraid I couldn't bond, that I didn't want to hold him yet. They nodded understandingly, said that was common with NICU mums. They took him away. Chelsea didn't say much either. When discharge time came, she looked panicked. I watched her argue with a nurse about her son not looking right, that something felt off. She asked if he looked smaller. The nurse assured her NICU babies often lose weight, that stress can make them seem different. Chelsea looked scared, but she left. I left with her baby. I changed the hospital photos, changed the baby book. When I got home, I deleted every email with Liam's diagnosis. I threw out the pamphlets, burned the printouts. I told Brian that the doctors had been wrong, that more tests had come back, that our baby was fine. He was overjoyed, so relieved. He never asked more questions, just accepted the miracle. We named him Caleb, and I loved him. At first I thought I wouldn't. I thought it would be guilt forever. But I loved him so much it hurt. He was the sweetest, easiest baby. Slept through the night early, smiled all the time, hit every milestone right on schedule. He was everything I thought I'd lost. But I paid for it in guilt. Every birthday, every Christmas I thought about Liam. The real Liam. I don't know where he is. I don't even know if Chelsea kept him. She looked so overwhelmed, so alone. What if she gave him up? What if he's in the system? What if he died? Sometimes I search for her name online. I found her Facebook once. She doesn't post much. No, pictures of kids. Nothing public. I don't dare message her. I couldn't handle it. Brian and I are still together. He has no idea. No one does. Not my parents. Not my friends. I tell myself that Caleb is my son. That blood doesn't matter. That he knows only love and stability. But I also know I committed a crime. A terrible, life-altering crime. Every time I go to a pediatrician appointment, I'm afraid someone will question his medical records. Every time I fill out a school form, I think someone will call me a fraud. I keep expecting a knock on the door, a DNA test, a lawsuit, but it never comes. Caleb turns 7 next month. He's obsessed with dinosaurs. He wants to be a paleontologist. He has freckles across his nose and a laugh that makes everyone smile. He loves me so much. And I love him back. But I think I ruined 3 lives to get here. Mine, Chelsea's, and Liam's, and I don't know how to fix it. I secretly destroyed my brother's relationship because I was jealous, and now he's getting married to someone else, and I can't live with the guilt. This is going to make me sound like the villain. I was the villain. I know that. I'm not proud of it. I don't even expect forgiveness. I just need to tell someone what I did before I go insane from carrying this secret alone. My name's Eric, 31M, and I have one sibling, my older brother, Matt, 34M. Growing up, Matt was the golden child. He was smart, athletic, popular, charming, all the things I wasn't. Our parents adored him, teachers fawned over him, girls had crushes on him. I was more introverted, shy. I got decent grades, but I was the quirky one, the sidekick to Matt's main character energy. Despite all that, I loved my brother, I really did. He was funny and kind and protective of me. When I got beat up in middle school, Matt confronted the bully. When I flunked algebra, Matt spent hours tutoring me. I looked up to him more than anyone else, I still do in a way, but I also resented him, quietly, deep down, like a slow-growing poison. Then, when I was 24 and Matt was 27, he met Grace. Grace was unlike anyone I'd ever met. Bright, warm, confident, just the kind of person who walks into a room and makes everyone feel like they belong. She was funny in this effortless way and had a laugh that made you want to laugh too, even if you didn't get the joke. She had wild curly hair, a tiny tattoo of a sun on her wrist, and a way of looking at people like she saw through them, and she fell in love with Matt. Of course she did. Everyone fell in love with Matt. I met her when they'd been dating for about a month. Matt brought her to a family barbecue. I tried to act casual, like I wasn't struck dumb by her the second she smiled at me. I thought it was a crush, just a harmless, hopeless, fleeting thing. But it wasn't. It got worse. The more I got to know Grace, the more I liked her. I mean, really liked her. I used to imagine what it would be like if I'd met her first, if she hadn't been with Matt, if things were different. And that turned into something darker, obsessive. They were together for almost 3 years, long enough that everyone assumed they'd get married. Grace became part of the family. My parents adored her. She came to every holiday, every birthday, and every time she hugged me hello or sat next to me at dinner, I felt like my chest was going to split open from a mix of longing and guilt. I never said anything, never crossed any lines, but I hated watching them together. I hated how easily Matt made her laugh. I hated how naturally he fit into her life and how she looked at him like he hung the stars. So when they hit a rough patch, I saw my chance. They'd been arguing a lot about moving in together, finances, long-term plans. Nothing catastrophic, just regular relationship growing pains. Grace confided in me a few times. Nothing major, just venting. But I took those little cracks and jammed a wedge in them. I started subtly feeding her doubts, saying things like, "Matt's always had trouble committing, hasn't he? He can be kind of selfish sometimes, but you deserve better. I think you've changed in ways he doesn't understand." It was manipulative, calculated. I framed it like I was on her side, like I was being the good friend, the caring future brother-in-law. all while twisting the knife just enough to make her question everything. To Matt, I played the same game. I'd say things like, "Grace seems distant lately. Are you sure she still wants the same things? I just don't want you to get hurt." And when he'd vent about their fights, I'd nod solemnly, never defending her, always. Agreeing with his worst assumptions. It worked. After a few months, they broke up. Grace ended things. She told me she didn't feel like she was being heard, that maybe they weren't compatible after all. She cried when she said it. She hugged me afterward. I told her I was sorry, that she deserved to be happy. I was lying, through my teeth. Inside, I was elated. A few weeks later, I tried to make my move. I waited a while, not long enough, honestly, and then asked her to meet for coffee. Told her I was worried about her. We talked for hours. She cried a little, laughed a little. I was nervous, but I felt like I had this one chance. So I told her the truth, or part of it. I said, "I think I've always had feelings for you." She blinked, went quiet, then said, "Eric, no." She was gentle but firm. She said she cared about me, but not like that. That I was Matt's brother, that it would feel wrong, that she wasn't in a place for anything romantic anyway. She said she hoped we could still be friends. I nodded, said I understood. Then I ghosted her. I stopped replying to her texts. I avoided events she might be at. I couldn't stand to see her after that. I told Matt I needed space. I said I was just going through something. He believed me. He always believed me. Eventually, Grace moved away, got a new job in Chicago. I thought that would be the end of it. But 2 years later, Matt reconnected with a girl he went to college with. Her name's Amanda. She's nice, blonde, quiet, works in marketing. They started dating, and within 6 months, they were engaged. Their wedding is this fall. Everyone's thrilled. My mum's planning like it's the royal wedding. My dad gave Matt his old watch to wear on the big day. Amanda's parents threw an engagement party last month. I went, smiled, gave a toast, but inside I was drowning. Because here's the thing. I didn't just sabotage my brother's relationship. I sabotaged the love of his life. I stole from him. And for what? Grace didn't love me. She never would have. All I did was destroy something beautiful because I couldn't handle being the side character one more time. And now I live with it every day. Sometimes I think about telling him, just coming clean, laying it all out. But what good would it do? Grace is gone. He's happy now. Telling him would ruin everything for both of us. Other times I fantasize about calling Grace, asking if she ever wondered what happened. Telling her the truth, apologizing. But what if she already knows? What if she always knew, or worse, what if she never cared? I've been writing this and deleting it for months. Part of me hopes someone will read it and scream at me. Call me a monster. That would be fair. But a smaller, quieter part of me hopes someone will say they understand, that they've felt that same ugly jealousy, that same desperate need to be seen, because I do regret it, every damn day. But it's too late. My brother's getting married in 5 months. I'm his best man, and no one, not even him, knows I'm the reason the love of his life walked away. I lied about having cancer for 2 years, and now I don't know how to face anyone. This is probably the most shameful thing I've ever done. I've written this and deleted it so many times because there's no way to make it sound anything but horrific. I'm not looking for sympathy. I don't deserve it. I just need to say it out loud, even if it's just to a bunch of strangers online. I 28F told my entire family and friend group that I had cancer, and I didn't. It started about 2.5 years ago, right after I lost my job. I'd been working as an assistant at a marketing agency. Nothing fancy, just your typical entry-level job, but it was my first real one after college, and I clung to it like it was my entire identity. Then came the layoffs, budget cuts. I was gone with 2 weeks' notice, no warning. No plan B. I moved back in with my mum and dad, completely humiliated. They were kind about it, especially my dad. He even joked that I could milk it and get some free meals out of the pity. That was just his sense of humor. But something about the way he said it stuck in my head. The thing is, I've always felt a little invisible. My older sister Kayla is a nurse, married, kids, owns a house, PTA mom, all of it. My younger brother Dylan is a software engineer, genius, makes six figures, travels the world, has a cool girlfriend. I was always the creative one, the sensitive one. I studied art history in college and everyone raised their eyebrows. I worked retail, waited tables, did some graphic design on the side, and never really took off like my siblings did. My parents didn't say anything, but I could feel it. Disappointment, even if it was unspoken. So when I came home, jobless and lost, I fell into a deep depression. And one day, I told my mum that the reason I'd come home wasn't just the job loss. I told her I'd been having stomach issues, fatigue, some weird blood work, that the doctors were concerned, that they were running more tests. She was worried, of course, asked a million questions. I made up vague answers. It was supposed to be a one-time lie, something to make her worry less about me being aimless. But she told my dad, and then my sister, and then everyone was calling, checking in, asking how I was feeling. For the first time in a long time, I felt important, and I didn't want that feeling to go away. So I kept it going. I said they found abnormal cells. Then I said they were running scans. Then I said the word cancer, ovarian, stage 2. I Googled everything. I spent hours on forums reading real people's stories so I could mimic the symptoms, the terminology, the appointments. I learned what side effects to fake. I even shaved my head at one point in anticipation of chemo, though I claimed to wear wigs because I was too self-conscious. People rallied. My family started a private Facebook group called Team Ellie. My old co-workers sent me a care package. My best friend started a GoFundMe without even asking me. She raised over $8,000 in a month. I told her I didn't want the money, but she insisted, said it would cover transportation to appointments, medications, etc. I used it to pay off my credit card debt, then quietly stopped using the account. People assumed the rest was being saved for future treatments. I just let them believe that. I became the center of every gathering. People cried around me, told me I was so brave. I gave speeches about staying strong. My sister started calling me every day. My mom held my hand and told me she was proud of me. My dad, who never cried, broke down in front of me once, telling me how much he admired my strength. It was like being loved in a way I'd never been before. And I was addicted to it. But lies are exhausting. You can't relax for a second. Every conversation, every question, every expression, it's all potential exposure. I had to remember names of fake doctors, keep track of appointments I never went to. I once faked being groggy after a chemo session by locking myself in my room and moaning every time someone passed by. I hated myself. Every day. I'd cry in the shower, scream into pillows, beg myself to just stop. But how? If I told the truth, I'd lose everyone. They'd never forgive me. So I kept going. Then came the supposed remission. I figured that was my way out. I told them the scans looked good, that the treatment had worked. People celebrated. My mom cried again. My friends threw a little dinner party. There were toasts. My sister bought me a silver bracelet engraved with the date I beat cancer. I thought I was finally done. But it wasn't over. A few months later, people started asking about follow-up appointments. My mom kept insisting on coming with me. I panicked and said the cancer had returned. Worse this time. Stage 3. That's when it really spiraled. My friend Melissa, who works at a hospital, asked if she could refer me to a specialist she knew. I made up an excuse. Someone else asked about a clinical trial they'd seen online. I said I didn't qualify. More and more lies, more and more pressure. I started isolating. I couldn't keep track of everything anymore. I started saying I was too sick to have visitors, that I was exhausted from treatments. I ghosted people. I stopped leaving the house. That was 8 months ago. Since then, I've lived in this bizarre in-between where people think I'm dying, but I'm really just hiding. And then last week, my best friend, the one who started the GoFundMe, showed up at my house unannounced. She said she hadn't heard from me in weeks and got worried. My mom let her in. I wasn't wearing a wig. I looked fine, healthy. She froze. She didn't say anything in front of my mom, but she texted me that night. Ellie, I need to ask you something. Please tell me the truth. Are you really sick? I didn't answer. 2 days later, she came again, alone, sat me down and told me she'd called the cancer center I claimed to go to. She asked for my doctor. There was no record of me ever being treated there. I didn't even try to lie. I broke down, told her everything. I thought she'd scream, hit me. But she just sat there, shaking. And then she stood up, said, "I can't even look at you right now," and left. She told my sister. My sister told my parents. It's been 5 days. No one will speak to me. My mom hasn't come out of her room. My dad hasn't made eye contact. My sister called me a disgusting manipulator and said she never wants me around her kids again. My best friend blocked me on everything. The GoFundMe page has been shut down. People are demanding refunds. Others are posting cryptic Facebook statuses, clearly about me. I haven't left my room since. I haven't eaten. I just keep refreshing my messages, hoping someone will say something, anything, but all I get is silence. I know what I did is unforgivable. I lied about something sacred. I stole compassion meant for real fighters. I made a mockery of pain that ruins lives. I disrespected everyone who ever held my hand or cried for me or prayed for me, and I did it all for attention, because I was sad, because I felt invisible, because I didn't think anyone would care about me unless I was broken in the most dramatic way possible. Now I'm really alone, and I deserve it. If you're reading this and you've ever supported someone with cancer, whether as a patient, friend, or caregiver, I'm sorry. Deeply, horribly sorry. I'm the worst version of a person, and I hate myself more than any of you ever could. I sabotaged my best friend's wedding because I was in love with her, and I don't know how to live with myself anymore. I'm not proud of what I did. In fact, I'm disgusted. I think I've finally ruined my life, and I deserve every bit of hate you're probably going to throw at me. For context, I, 31M, have been best friends with Jenna, 31F, since we were 13. We met in 8th grade when we were both placed in the same science class and instantly clicked. She was loud, funny, unapologetically herself. I was quieter, a bit of a nerd, always awkward in social situations. She pulled me out of my shell, and I supported her through some of the worst years of her life. Her parents' divorce, her little brother's car accident, and later her battles with depression. We were inseparable through high school and most of college. People constantly assumed we were dating or would eventually get together. I always laughed it off, but privately, I hoped they were right. I never told Jenna how I felt because, well, I was terrified. She never showed interest in me that way, and I didn't want to ruin the most important friendship I'd ever had. Jenna started dating Brad, 33M, about 4 years ago. He was introduced to her through her older sister. On paper, he was everything you'd want in a partner: stable, job charming, great with kids, and honestly not a bad-looking guy. But something about him rubbed me the wrong way from the start. I told myself it was just jealousy, but I tried to be supportive. Brad and I were cordial at best. He always seemed to act like I was a threat, even though I was very careful to never cross any boundaries. I knew my place. Jenna was happy, and that mattered more than anything. Or at least, that's what I kept telling myself. But when they got engaged last year, something inside me snapped. I started spiraling. I thought I'd come to terms with the fact that Jenna would never be mine, but seeing her so happy with someone else, knowing she was going to spend the rest of her life with a man who wasn't me, hit me like a freight train. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, I started drinking more. I even started seeing a therapist, but I wasn't fully honest with them either. I told myself I just needed closure, some kind of goodbye to the fantasy I'd clung to for so long. But what I did instead was so much worse. About 2 months before the wedding, Jenna asked me to be her man of honor. She said it jokingly, but she was serious. She wanted me by her side, said she couldn't imagine that day without me. I said yes, of course. But inside I was rotting. The more involved I became in the wedding planning, the more I convinced myself that Brad wasn't right for her. Every little flaw he had became amplified in my mind. He was impatient. He didn't listen to her ideas about the wedding. He made jokes that bordered on cruel. I started keeping track, literally writing things down in a notebook. Part of me wanted to believe I was just looking out for her, but deep down, I know I was building a case, not for her, for myself. A few weeks before the wedding, I found something. Jenna. had gone to a bachelorette weekend with her sisters and a couple of friends. Brad and I were left in charge of setting up some things at the reception hall. While we were working, his phone kept buzzing. He left it on a table when he went to the bathroom, and this is the part where I know I crossed a line. I looked at it. He had multiple messages from someone saved as Kim G. The conversation was intimate, flirty, and not recent. It went back months, photos, inside jokes, coordinating times to meet up. I froze. For a moment, I genuinely didn't know what to do. I took a few screenshots and emailed them to myself, then deleted the email from his sent box. I confronted him later that night. Just the two of us. I asked who Kim was. He went white, tried to deny it at first, but when I told him I saw the messages, he turned angry, told me it was complicated, that Jenna didn't need to know, that it was over, blah, blah, blah. I threatened to tell her, and he begged me not to. Said it would destroy her, said she wouldn't believe me anyway, and I'd be the one ruining her life. And that's when the idea started forming in my head. I told him I wouldn't say anything, and I didn't. Not directly, but I started planting seeds. Subtle ones. I told Jenna that Brad seemed off, that he might be hiding something. I acted concerned, just a caring best friend. I told her maybe she should talk to him about whether he was really ready. I brought up past relationships of hers where things went south because she ignored red flags. I even staged a conversation between two friends during a group dinner, where one of them casually mentioned how some people cheat even when they're engaged, and how you never really know someone. She started pulling away from him. A little, asking him questions, getting nervous. I knew she was second-guessing, and I pushed it further. The week of the wedding, I accidentally let her see one of the screenshots I'd taken. Played dumb, said I was going through my camera roll to find something and had forgotten it was there. She saw it, froze. I watched her heart break in real time. She confronted Brad that night. He tried to lie again at first, but eventually admitted it, said it was a mistake, that it had ended months ago. She called off the wedding 2 days before it was supposed to happen. She was wrecked, devastated. Her family was furious. Money lost, venue cancelled, invitations withdrawn. People were calling non-stop. Jenna locked herself in her apartment and barely ate or slept for days. I stayed with her through all of it. Brought her food, held her when she cried, stayed up watching dumb movies with her. I was everything she needed, and I kept telling myself I'd done the right thing, that she deserved to know that Brad was a liar and a cheater, and it would have been worse if she found out after the wedding, that I'd saved her, that I'd been the hero. But the truth is, I waited until it would cause maximum damage. I could have told her months earlier. I could have shown her the screenshots the moment I took them. I could have handled it with maturity, but I didn't. I waited until the moment it would blow everything up. Why? Because I wanted him gone. I wanted to be the one who saved her. I wanted her to see me, and the worst part? I thought it had worked. For a few weeks it was like we were back in high school. We spent all our time together. She leaned on me, confided in me, smiled again. There were moments I thought, maybe this was it, that all the pain had finally led here. But then one night, she looked at me and said, "I don't know what I would have done without you. You're like a brother to me." Hey, brother. I felt like I'd been punched in the throat. I tried to brush it off, but the more time passed, the more I saw that she wasn't going to fall into my arms. She was healing, yes, but not toward me. She was moving forward, without Brad. Without me. Last week she told me she'd signed up for a dating app, that she was going on a date with someone new. She was excited, nervous. She even asked me to help her pick an outfit. I smiled. I helped her. I told her she looked beautiful. Then I went home and cried like a child. The weight of everything hit me at once. What I did, what I destroyed, and for what? She still doesn't know. She thinks I stumbled across the messages and told her as soon as I could. She has no idea how long I kept them, how I twisted the knife, how I manipulated her pain to feed my fantasy. I don't know why I'm writing this. Maybe I want to be punished. Maybe I just want to admit what I did to someone, even if it's strangers on the internet. I've thought about telling her the truth, but I know it would break her. She already feels so guilty for not seeing the signs. If she knew I had played God with her heart, I don't think she'd ever speak to me again, and I deserve that. But I can't stop hating myself. I can't sleep. I replay everything in my head constantly. I ruined one of the most important days of her life. I made her doubt herself. And for what? A hope that she'd fall into my arms? I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know how to fix this. I don't think I can. I'm not the hero in this story. I'm not even the villain. I'm just a coward. And I don't know how to live with what I've done. I switched my newborn in the hospital because I couldn't accept the truth about my baby. And no one knows I never thought I would write this. I've kept this buried for nearly 7 years, and every single day it eats me alive. My name, obviously, isn't important, but I'm a 34-year-old woman, and I have a son who isn't really mine, or he is mine now. He calls me Mommy. He runs into my arms after school. I love him with all my heart. But biologically, no. He belongs to someone else, and I made that choice. Before you scream at me, I know. I already hate myself more than you ever could. 7 years ago, I gave birth to a baby boy. I'll call him Liam for this post. My pregnancy was rough. My partner, we'll call him Brian, and I had been trying for over 2 years, had one miscarriage, and then finally conceived after doing a few rounds of IUI. It was supposed to be this beautiful miracle. I followed all the rules. Ate right, took vitamins, gave up caffeine, did prenatal yoga, went to every appointment, every scan. Everything was normal until it wasn't. At around 36 weeks, the doctors noticed something wasn't quite right. Liam was measuring small. I was sent for more tests. They diagnosed him in utero with a genetic condition I won't name for privacy reasons, but it involved severe developmental delays, low muscle tone, potential intellectual disabilities, and a lifetime of medical needs. They said he might never walk, might never talk, might need full-time care for the rest of his life. I felt like the ground had cracked beneath me. I went numb. I nodded through everything they said. Brian cried. I didn't. I just shut down. We had a few weeks to prepare. Genetic counselors, social workers, information packets, support groups. I went to exactly one meeting and couldn't bear it. All I could think was, this isn't what I signed up for. I hated myself for thinking that. I still hate myself for thinking that. But I couldn't stop. I'd pictured birthday parties, soccer practice, sleepovers. I saw myself walking my son to kindergarten, teaching him to read, watching him fall in love someday. All of that crumbled with one test result. When I finally went into labor, I was terrified, not of the pain, but of what would happen after. I don't even remember much of the actual delivery, just machines, lights, beeping. I was barely conscious when Liam was born. They said he was struggling to breathe and took him to the NICU. Here's where it happened. I shared a room with another woman. Her name was Chelsea. She was young, maybe 20, very quiet, by herself. She had a baby boy too, born just a few hours after mine. At some point during our stay, while Liam was still in the NICU and her baby was sleeping in the bassinet near her, I snapped. I don't even remember making the decision, not fully. It was like something in me broke, something animalistic. I just did it. It was the second night. Nurses were switching shifts. Chelsea was asleep. I woke up, went over to her side of the room, and picked up her baby. My heart was beating so hard I thought I'd faint. I brought him to my bed, pulled the blanket over us, and pretended to sleep. When the nurse came in, she barely looked twice, just scanned the wristbands, checked vitals, and moved on. Chelsea didn't even stir. That baby became my baby. The next morning, when they brought Liam in to visit me, I cried, real, heavy, soul-breaking sobs. I told the nurses I was feeling overwhelmed, that I was afraid I couldn't bond, that I didn't want to hold him yet. They nodded understandingly, said that was common with NICU moms. They took him away. Chelsea didn't say much either. When discharge time came, she looked panicked. I watched her argue with a nurse about her son not looking right. That something felt off. She asked if he looked smaller. The nurse assured her NICU babies often lose weight, that stress can make them seem different. Chelsea looked scared, but she left. I left with her baby. I changed the hospital photos, changed the baby book. When I got home, I deleted every email. with Liam's diagnosis. I threw out the pamphlets, burned the printouts. I told Brian that the doctors had been wrong, that more tests had come back, that our baby was fine. He was overjoyed, so relieved. He never asked more questions, just accepted the miracle. We named him Caleb, and I loved him. At first I thought I wouldn't. I thought it would be guilt forever. But I loved him so much it hurt. He was the sweetest, easiest baby. Slept through the night early, smiled all the time, hit every milestone right on schedule. He was everything I thought I'd lost. But I paid for it in guilt. Every birthday, every Christmas I thought about Liam. The real Liam. I don't know where he is. I don't even know if Chelsea kept him. She looked so overwhelmed, so alone. What if she gave him up? What if he's in the system? What if he died? Sometimes I search for her name online. I found her Facebook once. She doesn't post much. No, pictures of kids. Nothing public. I don't dare message her. I couldn't handle it. Brian and I are still together. He has no idea. No one does. Not my parents. Not my friends. I tell myself that Caleb is my son, that blood doesn't matter, that he knows only love and stability. But I also know I committed a crime, a terrible, life-altering crime. Every time I go to a pediatrician appointment, I'm afraid someone will question his medical records. Every time I fill out a school form, I think someone will call me a fraud. I keep expecting a knock on the door, a DNA test, a lawsuit, but it never comes. Caleb turns 7 next month. He's obsessed with dinosaurs. He wants to be a paleontologist. He has freckles across his nose and a laugh that makes everyone smile. He loves me so, so much. And I love him back. But I think I ruined 3 lives to get here. Mine, Chelsea's, and Liam's, and I don't know how to fix it. I found out my wife was cheating, so I secretly switched our baby at the hospital, and no one knows. This is the darkest thing I've ever done, and the most unforgivable. I, 34 am, have lived with this secret for 6 years now. Sometimes I wake, up in the middle of the night soaked in sweat, wondering if today will be the day it all unravels. If today will be the day someone figures it out and my entire life, and my daughter's life, gets destroyed. It started 7 years ago, my now ex-wife, Sarah, 32F, and I had been married for 3 years at that point. Things were rocky, but I thought that was normal. Everyone says the first few years are hard, right? We fought sometimes, usually about dumb things, money, chores, stupid jealousy stuff. But I thought we loved each other. Then Sarah got pregnant. I was thrilled, nervous but thrilled. She cried when she found out. I thought it was from happiness. Now I realize it was probably guilt. Around the 20-week mark, Sarah's phone broke. She asked me to back up her photos and contacts before she switched devices. While I was transferring the data, a few weird texts popped up from someone labeled Tom Work. They weren't about work. They were about sneaking away to hotels, about missing each other's bodies, about how it's harder now that she's showing. Explicit stuff. I sat there numb, scrolling, reading months and months of it. The entire time I thought she was just working late or going to yoga classes. She was sleeping with Tom. I confronted her immediately. She cried, begged forgiveness, said it was over, swore on everything she loved that she wanted our marriage, wanted the baby, wanted me. I asked if the baby was mine. She said yes. She swore it. I wanted to believe her so badly. I needed to believe her. But a part of me just didn't. I started spiraling, reading paternity forums at 3 a.m., learning that 1 in 10 men are unknowingly raising kids that aren't theirs. Reading horror stories about guys who found out years later, getting angrier and angrier. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to blow up my life. I didn't want to destroy my marriage or abandon my kid if there was a chance it was mine, but I couldn't trust her. Not anymore. When the baby came, everything changed. She went into labor early, at 36 weeks. We rushed to the hospital. It was a chaotic, messy birth, emergency C-section. Lots of running around, lots of nurses, lots of confusion. In the haze, right after the birth, while Sarah was still under anesthesia, and they had taken me out of the OR briefly to wait, they placed the babies, ours and another couple's, in the same nursery side by side. And that's when the idea hit me. I didn't plan it. I swear to God I didn't. But when the nurse stepped out for a moment, just for a few seconds, I switched the name cards. I swapped my daughter, the one that might not even be mine, with the other newborn, a little girl with a full head of black hair. Our real baby, the one Sarah had given birth to, went home with strangers, and the little stranger went home with us. I know how monstrous it sounds. I know what I did is unforgivable. But at the time, I felt like it was justice. Like if Sarah had betrayed me, I could betray her back. Like it evened the scales. I figured if the baby wasn't biologically mine anyway, what difference did it make? Better to raise a baby I chose than one that was born from a lie Sarah never noticed. The baby looked similar enough. Newborns are squishy and wrinkled and weird. She just assumed the dark hair would lighten, and it did over time. She was exhausted, drugged up, emotional. She never questioned a thing, neither did anyone else. We brought her home, named her Emma. She's 6 now, and she's the best thing that's ever happened to me. I love her more than I've ever loved anything in my life, more than I ever thought I could love anything. She's funny, kind, stubborn, brilliant. She looks up at me with her big brown eyes and calls me Daddy and runs into my arms when she's scared. She's my daughter. Maybe not by blood, but in every way that matters. Sarah and I divorced 2 years after Emma was born. Not because of the switch. She still has no idea. It just fell apart. The resentment, the lies, the anger. We couldn't hold it together. She moved 3 hours away. I got joint custody. Half the week Emma is with me. Half the week she's with Sarah. Neither of them knows. Neither of them suspects. But it gets harder every year. Emma is starting to ask questions about her family tree, about why she doesn't look much like me or her mom, about why she's taller than everyone else in the family, about why her hair is darker, her skin a little different. She's innocent. She doesn't deserve this. And sometimes I wonder, what about the other family? The one raising the baby Sarah actually gave birth to? Do they know? Do they suspect? Are they looking for her? Are they missing her? I don't know. I try not to think about it. But sometimes I wake up at 2 a.m. gasping for air, thinking about a little girl out there somewhere who was stolen from her real parents because of me. I don't know what to do. Part of me wants to confess, to tell Sarah, to tell Emma, to find the other family and make it right no matter the consequences. But the selfish part of me, the coward, is too afraid. If I confess, I'll lose everything. I'll lose Emma. They'll take her from me. They'll call me a kidnapper, a criminal, a monster. And they'd be right. I tell myself every day, just one more day, keep it together for one more day, and I do. I pack her lunch. I braid her hair. I read her bedtime stories. I live this lie because living without her would destroy me. But sometimes, when she falls asleep against my chest, breathing softly, I wonder, am I a father, or am I just a thief wearing a father's skin? I secretly switched my brother's DNA test results and destroyed my entire family without meaning to. This is something I can never tell anyone in my real life. But it's eaten me alive for almost 4 years now. And since I see other people confess crazy things here, maybe this is where I can finally say it. I, 32F now, ruined my entire family because of one impulsive, stupid, selfish decision. It started with one of those cheap DNA kits. You know the ones. Find your ancestry. Meet. Long-lost cousins, whatever. My brother Dan, 35M, and I had a rocky relationship growing up. He was the golden child. Star athlete, good grades, everyone's favorite. I was the weird one. Artistic, bad at math, depressed all through high school. My parents always compared us. I don't think they realized how much it hurt me, how much it built up this quiet resentment in me over the years. Fast forward to 4 years ago. I was doing better, had a steady job, therapy, a small apartment. Dan was married to his high school sweetheart, Rachel, with 2 little kids and a house in the suburbs. Still golden boy, right? Anyway, Christmas was coming up. I wanted to get him something he'd never expect. He's always been into family history, and 23andMe, or one of those, I forget which, was running a holiday sale. $59 for a kit. Perfect. Ordered it, wrapped it up, and gave it to him at Christmas. He laughed, thought it was funny, promised he'd actually use it. And he did. A few weeks later, he texted me a screenshot of his activation screen. Just the "Your sample has been received" page with a thumbs up emoji. Here's where it starts to get bad. One night, a few glasses of wine deep and feeling petty for God knows what reason, he'd made some joke at a family dinner about my dating life that pissed me off. I logged into the DNA account. Yes, I knew the password. It was the same dumb password he used for everything growing up, and he never changed it. His football jersey number plus password. Literally. I figured it was still the same. It was. When I logged in, his sample was still processing. I don't know what possessed me. Boredom? Spite? Curiosity? Some twisted combination, but I started Googling how to fake DNA test results. I fell down a rabbit hole of conspiracy forums, people saying the companies are fake anyway, that results are randomized, that nobody verifies anything. And then I found out that you could upload your own raw DNA data to these websites to compare profiles manually. I had an idea. Months earlier, I'd helped a friend do a university project on fake identities. As part of it, I had downloaded a free dummy DNA data file from a site that generated sample sequences for testing. It wasn't real DNA, it was fake, random, totally made up. I still had it on my laptop. I uploaded that file to Dan's account. Within a few days, the site spit out results based on the dummy data, not Dan's real results. Results that showed wildly different ancestry than what we knew to be true. It said he was 50% Scandinavian, that he had third cousins in Sweden, that he had markers for a hereditary heart condition he definitely didn't. Have all fake. I laughed about it at first, thought it was hilarious. Figured he'd either not care or assume it was an error, but it didn't stop there. Dan freaked out. First, he was confused. He kept texting me weird questions. Did you know Grandpa was Swedish? He wasn't. Our whole family is Irish-Italian. Do you know anyone with heart disease in the family? I shrugged it off. Those tests are bogus, don't worry about it. But Dan couldn't let it go. He ordered a second DNA test from a different company. This time he used a different email, different password, and this time he got real results that said he was 0% Irish, 0, according to the real results. He wasn't biologically related to our parents at all. Cue nuclear explosion. Dan confronted Mom and Dad. At first they denied everything, screamed at him for accusing them, said DNA tests were scams, called him ungrateful, but eventually, to our mom, cracked. Turns out Dan was adopted. They had never told him. He was adopted as a newborn, through some shady private arrangement in the late 80s. No paperwork, no formal adoption certificate, just cash under the table to a teenage girl in a different state. They raised him as their own. Never planned to tell him. And now? It was out, because of me, because I was a petty, stupid idiot who thought it would be funny to mess with a DNA test. Dan lost his mind. He demanded answers, demanded to know his birth parents. My parents couldn't give him anything real. Too much time had passed, records were destroyed, no lawyers involved. His entire identity shattered overnight. It didn't just stop with him. The fallout tore the whole family apart. Dan went no contact with my parents. He moved states, divorced Rachel. I don't even know all the reasons why. Maybe he felt like if his whole life was a lie, his marriage was too. My parents spiraled into depression. My mum started drinking heavily. My dad lost his job 6 months. Later, holidays became awkward, then non-existent. No more Christmas dinners, no more birthdays together. I haven't seen Dan in 3 years now, and no one knows it's my fault. No one knows. I was the one who tampered with the DNA results. They think it was just an innocent gift that accidentally exposed a decades-old secret, but it wasn't innocent. I chose to mess with his account. I chose to upload fake data. I chose to poke a bear I didn't even understand, and I hate myself for it every single day. I've thought about confessing so many times, writing him a letter, flying out to wherever he lives now, showing up on his doorstep, but what would I even say? Hey, sorry I triggered the worst trauma of your life because I was feeling petty one night. He would never forgive me. I don't even think I could ask him to. And my parents? If they knew, they would disown me in a heartbeat. Maybe worse. So I stay silent. I try to justify it to myself sometimes. The truth would have come out eventually. It's better he knows. Secrets are poison, but deep down, I know the truth. I destroyed my family, and I can never, ever fix it. I faked my death 5 years ago, and now I'm living a whole new life. Sometimes I wonder if I should go back. This is going to sound absolutely insane, like something out of a bad TV movie. But every word I'm about to write is true. I'm sitting here shaking because I know if anyone ever figured out who I am, my life, the second life I built, would be over. But I can't keep this to myself anymore. 5 years ago, I faked my death, and no one, not my parents, not my siblings, not my friends, has any idea that I'm still alive. Here's how it happened. My real name doesn't matter. Let's call me Alex. I grew up in a pretty normal suburban family. 2 younger sisters, a stay-at-home mum, a dad who worked as a project manager. We weren't rich, but we weren't poor either. Just typical. From the outside, it probably looked like I had a decent life. I was smart, had scholarships lined up. Everyone thought I'd make something of myself. Inside, though, I hated it. All of it. The endless pressure, the smallness of it, the constant expectations. It felt like I was suffocating inside a glass box and no one even noticed. By the time I was 22, after dropping out of college and working crappy warehouse jobs, I was spiraling. I was in debt, addicted to painkillers, bouncing between sleeping on friends' couches and staying up all night trying to figure out how I had screwed everything up so badly. I couldn't see a way forward, but I could see a way out. I didn't plan it all at once. It started as this half-joke I'd say when I was high. What if I just disappeared? But the more I said it, the more real it became. The more possible it felt. Then one night everything snapped. I had a huge fight with my dad over money, of course. He called me a failure, said he was embarrassed to tell people I was his son. I packed a bag with whatever cash I had, $700 total, a few clothes, and my fake documents, a skill I'd picked up hanging out with some very sketchy people, and I left. The death part wasn't even planned at first, but about a week later, staying at a cheap motel in a different state, I saw a local news report about a young man found dead after a hiking accident. They only showed a blurred photo of the guy. An idea hit me like a freight train. I found a remote area near a national park, where there were known hiking trails but poor cell reception. I left my wallet, with my ID, a few receipts and some staged bloodstains, in an abandoned ravine about 5 miles off trail. I smashed my phone, threw it into the river. The rest was just waiting. Within 2 days, my disappearance was on the news. My parents made tearful pleas. My sisters posted desperate Facebook statuses. Search teams were deployed. They found my wallet. They found traces of my blood. They didn't find a body, but the terrain was rough, and authorities eventually ruled it an accidental death by misadventure. They never looked deeper. I was declared legally dead 8 months later. Meanwhile, I had already slipped away. New name, new state, new life. The first year was brutal. I slept in my car half the time, took under-the-table jobs, dishwashing, landscaping, janitorial work, lived like a ghost. No credit cards, no social media, no connections, just surviving. But I was free. There was no one expecting anything from me. No one I had to impress. No one I was disappointing every single day. Slowly, I built a new identity. I got fake documents through some contacts, a new social security number, a birth certificate from a destroyed county records office. Thank you. Hurricane Katrina. It cost most of what I had, but it was worth it. I worked, saved, moved again. Eventually, I found a job at a small auto repair shop run by a guy who didn't ask too many questions. I learned everything I could, became damn good at it. After a few years, I was managing the place. Now 5 years later, I live in a little town no one's ever heard of. I rent a decent apartment. I have a dog. I coach a kids' soccer team on weekends. I even started dating again, very carefully. To anyone who knows me now, I'm just Rick, the quiet guy who fixes engines and volunteers at the animal shelter. But inside, I'm always aware, this life is built on a lie. Sometimes I check on my old life. I know it's dangerous, but I can't help it. I make trips to the library, log into public computers under fake accounts and look up my family. My mum took it the hardest. She spent 2 years organizing memorial hikes in my honor. My sisters both got tattoos with my initials. My dad, he never really talks about me publicly. I wonder if he blames himself. I saw that my youngest sister got married last year. I missed it. I'll miss her having kids someday. I'll miss Christmases, Thanksgivings, birthdays. And for what? Freedom? Sometimes, when I'm walking my dog at night, I think about turning myself in. Just showing up on my parents' doorstep, dropping to my knees, begging for forgiveness. But what would that even accomplish? They've grieved me. They went through hell. They moved on, or tried to. Ripping that wound open again would be the most selfish thing I could do. And legally, I don't even know what would happen. Insurance fraud, falsifying documents. I could go to prison for years. Besides, part of me wonders if they're better off without me. At least they can remember the good version of me. The bright, smiling kid full of potential. Not the mess I became, so I stay dead. I live my small, quiet life. I fix cars. I feed my dog. I go to bed early. I avoid cameras and background checks like the plague. Sometimes it feels peaceful. Other times it feels like I'm haunting my own life. I know there are people out there who would kill for a chance to start over. I did it. I got away with it, and yet some nights I wonder if disappearing was just a different kind of death. Because the truth is, I'm still just as lonely as I ever was. I framed my best friend for a crime he didn't commit, and now he's rotting in prison part 1. The setup, I know this is going to sound horrifying. It is horrifying. I deserve every ounce of hell that's waiting for me, but I have to say it somewhere. I have to confess it to someone, even if it's just to strangers who will spit on my name. Here it is. 5 years ago, I, now 30M, framed my best friend, Aaron, 30M, for a crime he didn't commit, and he's still sitting behind bars because of me. Aaron and I had been best friends since middle school. We met in detention, bonding over shared hatred of authority and love of skateboarding. We were inseparable. High school, college, adulthood. He was the closest thing I ever had to a brother. We even lived together for a while. 2 idiot. Bachelors in a grimy 2-bedroom apartment. He was everything I wasn't. Aaron was the golden boy. Charismatic, handsome, funny. He could walk into a room and instantly be everyone's favorite person. Meanwhile, I was background noise, socially awkward, average-looking, forgettable. I envied him. I worshipped him. And I hated him for it. The cracks started to show when we both fell for the same girl, Maya. I met her first through work, instant crush. But before I could even work up the nerve to ask her out, Aaron swooped in, charming, confident, smooth. Within a month, they were inseparable. Within 6 months, they were living together. I told myself I was happy for them. I forced a smile at their engagement party. I gave a toast at their wedding. But inside, a dark thing grew, sick and poisonous. I fantasized about her at night, about what could have been. And every time I saw her kiss him, laugh with him, choose him over me, it ate at me. Then about 6 years ago, Aaron got a new job, management at a tech startup. Big money. Overnight, he went from broke like the rest of us to driving a brand new Audi and flashing designer watches. Meanwhile, I was still stuck grinding paycheck to paycheck, drowning in student loans. That's when the resentment started, boiling over. Why him? Why does he get everything? Why do I always lose? The opportunity fell into my lap. Aaron and I had shared a Dropbox folder for years, old photos, gaming screenshots, memes. He forgot to revoke my access when he switched. Computers. One day I noticed he had started uploading work documents by mistake, company financials, employee records, payroll spreadsheets. I shouldn't have looked, but I did, and I found it. A buried subfolder with consulting expenses, fake invoices, phantom vendors, off-the-books wire transfers. Aaron was embezzling thousands, tens of thousands, maybe more. At E. First I was stunned. I couldn't believe it. Perfect, charming Aaron and a criminal. My mind raced. I could expose him, destroy him, take him down a peg. But a darker idea took hold. What if I made it worse? Part 2. The follet started small. I fabricated a few more invoices, filed them under dummy companies I created using burner emails. I tweaked numbers, shifted transactions, made it look like Aaron was siphoning double, no triple, what he actually was. I anonymized everything perfectly. VPNs, proxies, disposable laptops bought with cash. I left breadcrumbs in his cloud storage. Planted evidence on his work computer when I visited under the excuse of helping him move. It was meticulous, surgical, every document, every login, every metadata timestamp, carefully backdated, carefully crafted. Then I waited. 6 months later, the hammer fell. Aaron's company did a routine audit. They found the irregularities, found the fake invoices, found the IP addresses matching his laptop. The money trail led straight to him. He was arrested, indicted, charged with grand larceny, wire fraud, tax evasion. I was there when he called me from jail, sobbing, begging, saying it wasn't him, saying he didn't know how it happened, saying he was innocent. I told him I believed him. I told him I would help. I told him I was on his side. Then I hung up and poured myself a drink. The trial was swift. The prosecution's case was airtight because I had made it airtight. Emails, bank transfers, computer logs, testimonies from co-workers, many of them subtly nudged by rumors I had planted about his suspicious behavior. Aaron's lawyer barely stood a chance. He was sentenced to 12 years without parole. 12 years because of me. Maya divorced him within 6 months. I sent her flowers anonymously. She moved out of state, started over. New job, new boyfriend, new life. Sometimes I think about reaching out to her. Sometimes I think about telling her the truth. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I had just been brave enough to tell her how I felt all those years ago. But I don't. I stay away. Safer that way. As for me, I got a promotion at work, moved into a nicer apartment, started dating casually. I'm no one serious. Life went on. Normal, quiet, empty. But every night, I see Aaron's face in my dreams. Betrayed, broken, ruined. I wonder if he thinks about me. If he wonders why I never visited. If he ever suspects. Some nights I wake up convinced I hear him pounding at my door, screaming, "I know it was you, but it's just the wind. I know someday this will catch up to me. Maybe someone will dig too deep. Maybe Aaron will get out early and come looking for answers. Maybe I'll break down and confess. Maybe I'll rot in hell. But for now, I live in the silence, in the space between the lie and the truth, and I wonder, was it worth it? Was anything ever worth it?